In here
You were pretty back there, you got here?
It's been 60 days. I can barely spell
as
commit.
well. Good evening. I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order at 6:30. And if we could do the Pledge of Allegiance, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of
I
Allegiance?
would. Please stand as you are able and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
We got a roll call, please.
We have Chair Matthew Johnston.
Here.
We have Vice Chair Clark Kramer.
Here.
We have Commissioner Gerald Abramson.
Here.
We have Commissioner Steve Tanhill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was like, I thought he was here.
Didn't
Okay.
quite hear you. Here. Here. I mean.
We have Commissioner Sean Colvin.
Here.
We have Commissioner Richard Wyatt.
Here.
Commissioner Mark McCamish. We have Commissioner Douglas Tiber.
Here.
We have Commissioner John Corneau and Commissioner Shane Warburn. Okay, for the record, Commissioners Warburn and Corneau have been excused for tonight's meeting, but we do have a quorum.
Great. Thank you very much. I understand Keith is not here this evening, so will we be referring to Aaron on things? Okay. Are there any changes to the agenda or things we need to be aware of?
There are no changes to the agenda, though we did receive one written comment for agenda item 6B, and that comment was emailed to the commissioners and posted to our website prior to the meeting.
Great. Yeah, I received it. I'm sure everyone else received it as well. Okay, let's move on to approval of minutes of our last meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from March 11th, 2026.
You got it. I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion. We can have a roll call.
We have Chair Johnston,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Abramson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tanhill,
Yes.
Commissioner Colvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Wyatt,
Yes.
and Commissioner Talbert.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion passes 7-0 unanimously.
All right, wonderful. If we could have staff, please advise regarding public comments.
To the members of the public who wish to address the commission tonight with live public comments on any agenda item, please visit airports.venturacounty.gov/meeting calendar for participation instruction, streaming links, meeting IDs, and passcodes. In-person speakers will be called upon first, followed by remote participants. Speakers will be called to speak after the agenda item is presented. For in-person public comment, please fill out a speaker card and submit it to the secretary before the end of the public comment period. For remote participants via Zoom or telephone, please accept the prompt to be prompted to speak and unmute your mic when it's your turn to speak. Members of the public are allotted 3 minutes per speaker per listed agenda item at a single meeting, unless the time allotment is increased or decreased by the chair, depending on the number of speakers. And please use your time accordingly.
Thank you very much. And just for curiosity, do we have any cards that have been submitted for any of the agenda items this evening or open comment?
Sorry, we do not have any public comment.
At this point. Okay, thank you. So we'll move right into the regular agenda. And first off, I just want to say thank you to the staff for receiving the budget. I think in all the years that we've been serving here, getting this early and having a chance to look at it, it's a lot to digest. So we appreciate you getting that out to us, and I'm sure the other commissioners feel the same. So with that, I'll open it up to the commission regarding the, sorry, Aaron, first, if you can present on the budget.
Thank you, Chair Johnston, commission members, Aaron Powers, And it's my pleasure tonight to provide you with a presentation on the proposed fiscal year 26-27 budget. Sort of giving you a high-level picture, our financials at a glance. The Department of Airports.
Excuse me real quick. Could I take a moment just to turn that TV in our direction so that we can better view the presentation?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, that's-
Thank you.
Thank you, Lizette. The Department of Airports is an enterprise fund, meaning we are self-sufficient and operate like a small to medium-sized business. We generate about 9.5 million annually in revenue, and we don't take any county general fund or other local tax revenue contributions. Our reserve is currently at $12.2 million. And looking at the budget ahead, the proposed budget, we do have some key challenges that we are going to cover in our presentation. We're seeing some increased operating expenses, lower revenues, and we also have some planned significant capital project expenditures. Our 5-year outlook, you'll see that we have a plan to increase our revenues. We're looking to continue key infrastructure improvements. And throughout all of this, even with some of our expenses exceeding our revenues, we're still maintaining a reserve balance of 3 to 4 months of operating expenses. And this averages between $3 to $4 million. Somehow this slide looked a little bigger on my computer screen. Oh, thank you. So, but really the key to this is, this represents our Camarillo and Oxnard operating budget. This is part of our budget book, but I wanted to call out a couple key factors. You may see that in our expense side, that we're seeing an increase of approximately 14% in salaries and benefits. We also are seeing a 3% increase in services and supplies. I think everyone has experienced just rising costs generally in goods. And then that leads us to about a 5% increase over last year of our operating expenses. Going to the revenue side, we actually had a reduction in revenue of about $837,000. This is mainly due to the termination of several leases that had not been projected in the Camarillo Business Park. And also, when we look at the licenses, permits, and franchise, that amount there at a little over $300,000 was money that we had anticipated from Glovis for parking vehicles at the airport. That's always a great revenue source, but they didn't need the property. So they discontinued the lease. So that's why we saw a reduction in revenues. Just making sure okay, so then I do want to point out that with the increased expenses, reduction in revenues, we are expecting about a 1.5 million net loss, and that's without depreciation. Moving over to our capital budget, we are seeing some significant numbers and percentages in our planned projects. And many of you know that for years we've been building up our reserves in order to be able to pay down on some planned significant capital projects. So what you're seeing here in these numbers is 2 grant projects, in particular, the Camarillo runway rehabilitation, and then also the Oxnard air traffic control tower project, plus some non-grant funded projects that are on a much smaller scale. what we see is that ultimately we're looking at a net cost to the airport of about $2.7 million that we would need to pay out of pocket. So as I mentioned, we have been for years building up our reserves for anticipated large capital projects. And what we wanted to show here is a sampling at Camarillo and Oxnard Airport of projects that are in our capital improvement plan, our 5-year plan. And then what we've indicated here is our cash flow and the impact of our capital projects on cash flow. So you can see we're starting the new fiscal year at about $16.6 million. And then we plan with those improvements, we expect to be about $4.7 million with our cash. So what are we going to do about these reduced revenues, increasing expenses? Really, we're working and we have plans for increasing our revenue, leveraging our existing assets. And then that's through our redevelopment RFPs. Some of those have already come before your commission. That's part of our short-term plan, but we also have vacant properties in the business park that we'll be working to go through a request for proposal process as well. Some of those unexpected vacancies that we have, we'll be trying to fill. And we also, for both Camarillo and Oxnard airports, are doing a comprehensive update to our rent and fee policy. Currently, we're in the first half of the study, which is the methodology. So we have initiated the methodology study, and we have a subcommittee that includes different stakeholders across the board with FBOs, with smaller hangar tenant, private representation. I believe we also have a member of AOPA who's sitting on this subcommittee. So we've tried to get a nice cross-section so that as we go through setting the methodology, we expect later this year or very early in 27 to come to you with a proposed rate and fee overhaul or sort of a reset based on standards for today. And through this process, and over at Oxnard Airport, very much the same things, but we also are looking to stand up Area 805. This is a test range that you've heard us promoting for the last year and a half. And I might have a little news, a teaser later on during the director's report. So one of the mainstays of the airport is, not only do we need to strive to be self-sufficient, but we also have an impact locally and annually on the communities around us. So we had done, in 2019, we had conducted an economic benefit analysis. We are planning to update that economic benefit analysis, hopefully by the end of the year. But we wanted to just show that we were able to get some information from a fellow county agency about just in 2025, just the personal property tax for aircraft only, which is just a piece of the state, local, and school tax revenues paid. And I think the exciting thing here to see is that a third just of the personal property tax on aircraft goes back to the county, a third goes to the city of Camarillo, a third goes to the city of Oxnard, and a third goes to the local schools. So and this is annually. So, I mean, when you're talking about, for Camarillo, it's a little over $3 million each year to each one of these entities. We have been working very hard on our strategic planning for generating new revenue. That's taking various shapes, and you can see that we're looking at developing our vacant parcels, getting greater occupancy and the assets that we already have, standing up Area 805, the Advanced Air Mobility Test Range. We also are collaborating with the CEO's office. They have something called the Hive Innovation Center. And so we are a key partner with them with the potential of Area 805. And we're looking to attract high-end aviation jobs. And then we also are reinvesting in our airports with our key capital projects. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Just one question. Do you generate revenue from the air show? The reason I'm asking is, is it worthwhile having more if it's a revenue generating versus a cost?
So the air show, I actually don't know the black and white answer to that. The air show is definitely an opportunity for us that we support the Wings Over Camarillo to promote aviation. And certainly they raise money, but I think that we support it more than it brings in revenue for us.
I can share because I asked a similar question of Director Freitas. It's my understanding we do not charge the air show for providing all the resources that we provide. So that's my understanding of the economics of it.
I do have a question, and this, you allude to it here, and again, I understand we may not have a full answer tonight, but it is definitely something I want to circle back around to, and that is the Hive.
Yeah.
So I happened to be at an event with the Ventura County Industry Forum, and the Hive was there. And it was one of those moments where it was like, oh, interesting. And they have they have the Department of Airports on some of their stuff, right? And also the Ventura, they're obviously there's a relationship with Ventura County and the Department of Airports. But I would like to know more about them and all of that. So again, it's not something we're going to answer tonight, but this will also kind of dovetail into what we're talking about with some of the ways to be more efficient and effective as the AAC. But because that was a part on here and that is the future of where we're looking for potential revenue and partnership, I just kind of want to make a note right now that makes me even more interested to know. I was already interested, and they were already going to be an example, but because that is a future opportunity for additional growth and revenue and participation with the airport, I do want to put that marker on that I would like to know more about them in the future.
Sure. And, the Hive is born from the county's CEO office's economic vitality branch. And so they are focused on, bringing, sorry, I thought they were adding something. They are focused on really trying to stand up businesses, bring jobs, and those type of things, and including education. So there's a lot of cornerstones where they're sort of bringing all these partners together. We're one of the partners, so that we can have high paying jobs, that we have the schools, the colleges are involved so that they are developing programs that are aviation and other based, potentially drone programs to support those jobs that we're trying to attract. And Area 805 is certainly something that they're very excited about as the cornerstone of some of those partnerships.
Yeah, the Area 805 is actually on their flyer. So
Yeah.
that was a part where it was very clear that there is a again, there's a very symbiotic relationship. And I just don't know much about them and I would like to know more, as I'm sure my fellow commissioners would as well.
Sure, we'll make sure to take note of that.
One of the things I mentioned, because I share the same interest, somewhere I found a way to sign up for their email list and encourage everybody to do that, because I'm very impressed with what they're doing, trying to build entrepreneurship, help people with their startups, help create economic partnerships at the airport. So I've learned a lot from that, would encourage everybody to do that. I just have a line item question. Aaron, on the revenue side, there's a line item called Rev dash use of money and property, which is like 90% of the revenue. What is that?
So that is, that you're talking about our commercial and business park leases.
So when I look at
So-
Oxnard, for example, on page 7, it shows 1,000,009 in total revenues and 1,000,006 is from use of money and property.
Yes.
And I'm sure I can see the same thing in the combined.
So this is the combined. It doesn't
Oh.
break out Camarillo and Oxnard, but yes, in total, it is the majority of our revenue that is generated here at the airport through rent and not fees, because that's a separate line.
Those
But
leases of people.
yeah, so it's facility leases, it's your commercial leases, your hangar leases, land leases.
Is there a further breakout to that somewhere in the budget? And if not, given that it's basically all of our revenue, maybe a separate schedule would be helpful there, just to.
Well, there's a
understand.
breakout for Camarillo and Oxnard, what the total is, but are you looking for each business, what the rent is?
Well, I'm just saying we have a budget that says, what? 9 point, whatever, here, let me go to the page, in revenue, and it all comes from one line item. Which is
Right,
just-
yes, because it's a roll up, a backup data.
I'll just make that comment, that for me, to understand what's behind it, because otherwise it's like, it's basically saying, what's our revenue? Here's our revenue. And anyway, that's my observation. I know
So it's from,
Rick may. I don't know if Rick has a similar.
Well,
Rick's got a financial background. I don't know if it caught your eye. Okay.
so maybe I can follow up with you later, because I think when you're asking what is made up of that, you're asking for all the business park leases, you're asking for 600 hangars, and you're looking for about 70 commercial businesses, and those numbers are all combined into that line. And it's, broken out by airport, and then what you're looking at.
Yeah, maybe there's some sort of subsidiary schedule, which.
There is.
Yeah.
I'll show you. Yes, it's on page 5 of the budget. Yeah, so it breaks down. I'll show you, but there is a little bit more.
It's in the budget.
There's a little bit more granularity.
Okay,
I know on the front page it's not, and you kind of have to pull that,
okay.
but
Thank
it
you
does,
for
it
that.
does break it down to like lease interest, rents and concessions, lease revenue, CPI lease revenue. So again, with a majority of that, with with the budget adopted, the 9 million of rents and concessions. Right, so, but you can see there's a little bit more of a breakdown there. on page
Okay.
5.
I'll take a look at that. Thank you.
I would like to add, thank you, Aaron, for your part here and the details. I appreciate that. I do like to ask a little more about the net loss comment. Can you tell me or tell us how much was Oxnard, how much was Camarillo?
My presentation only includes the roll up, the combined, so we can. So Servando has circled for me on page 12 for Oxnard shows about $1 million net loss without depreciation, and Camarillo is a little over 500,000.
And what is it with depreciation?
1.2 for Camarillo and 1.5 for Oxnard.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any further questions?
I do, on that same question, or on that same item there, where it breaks up into Oxnard and Camarillo, and there is a little bit of a breakdown in the packet. But it makes it sound, and I'm just curious on the, it says on here, please note that at Camarillo Airport, administrative salaries and benefits are allocated 90% to Camarillo administration, 10% to Oxnard administration, to present a more realistic picture of the costs for each airport. So I read that as all of the 90% of the Department of Airports cost is attributed to Camarillo. Is that correct? Am I reading that correct?
Yes, for the allocation.
So that would be the staff, admin staff. Serrano Briggs, that would be the 90% of admin staff time on the Camarillo, because that's where the employees are.
Right. So
paid out of,
like
being
here,
allocated.
like the staff here.
Correct.
Yeah.
10% of that is being allocated to the Oxnard Airport.
So so the staff cost of 100%, 90% is then allocated to Camarillo.
Correct.
Is that how it has been done in the past?
Yes.
Okay, so this is not a new thing this year. This is how it's been allocated in previous budgets as well.
Correct.
And I would add on that he emphasized admin staff because we have approximately 37 employees, 10 maintenance, 10 operations, and those are allocated differently to each of the airports.
Okay.
I can't actually tell you what the number is per airport right now, but it's not that.
If your job was doing something at Oxnard Airport, then it would be.
Correct.
Yeah, I understand. I wasn't sure if that was a new allocation. When I read through it, it made me think that maybe it was a reallocation of something different, but that's how it's been
Yes.
in the past. Okay.
Continue on the net loss. I remember from a past year, there was some discussion about the fact that Oxnard seems to have less revenue and therefore more money pulling out of the fund versus Camarillo. Is that a temporary swings usually, or is it something that's been recurring over the decades?
So it's a difference in I would say the setup of each airport. So Camarillo Airport has a robust business park, and frankly, that pays for most of the aviation side for and we are a system of airports. Oxnard is much more landlocked with, it's half the acreage almost. And then we have, and without a business park, so everything's airside. And if you look at our rates and fees, aviation rents are discounted from market because that's the purpose of an airport. So at Camarillo Airport, for non-aviation uses, especially in the business park, we get market rate.
So, and in the past, I think, the other thing from last year's budget, if I remember correctly, Camarillo was in the black and Oxnard was in the red.
That's
and it
correct.
kind of worked itself out. Or at least, Kempton
Right.
kind of subsidized Oxnard.
Yes,
And with the difference this year, it appears, is that everybody is in the red.
that's correct.
And because of the business park and because of the loss of revenue. So that
Right,
difference
loss
that
of
we've lost
revenue,
on
and we have
rent.
some increased expenses, especially on the salaries. We had some positions last year that we weren't fully funding and then we also, we have some general salary increases that are baked into fiscal year 26-27 and our cash flow projections. Along with, there was a bill with unintended consequences. There was SB 525, which was a minimum wage bill that passed in California that was supposed to increase, I think it was the medical field, but it actually had ripple effects, and it actually touched every department in the county.
Came up with one more question. I think for me, it's going to be the last one. We were talking about allocations earlier, back and forth. Are the hourly cost for employees, are they charged directly to each airport where they work, or is it, you got 30 equivalent heads and you just put 90% here and 10% there? Or is it charged directly?
So we do have cost centers, with the exception of administration, which is 90%, 10%. The maintenance and operations do have positions that are allocated to each airport, and those salaries and those hours are allocated into that cost center.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right, one last question from me, and it's about ramifications of being in the red.
Yes.
One of the well, not selling points, but one of the, we talk about the enterprise fund, and it also talks about it here that it's self-sufficient, right? And that it requires no county funds.
Yes.
So if we are in a position now where we are in the red, does that mean that there will have to be county funds to pull the difference, or are we just using our reserves?
So we are using our reserves. I think that you can see that we're projecting that we're going to keep closing that gap. We do expect our expenses to exceed our projected revenues. But the other thing you have to remember is that these are just projections. Our budget isn't static. So we're always reevaluating our actuals against the proposed budget. So you can imagine that if we can make changes. We can defer significant capital projects if it looks like there was any question. But even through a reduction to our reserves, and we are still maintaining, our minimum reserves to meet GASB requirements. So at this point, while our outlook is maybe not as rosy as it has been in the past, it's still promising. And we expect that, we're able to do course corrections as needed along the way. So we feel like we're in a good position.
And this is kind of a follow-up from our previous meeting, which was we were showing, and again, I think it's about when we lost the business park revenue, correct?
Right.
In the sense that we were showing in the previous meetings, all of a sudden we were in the red,
Yes,
and that was unexpected because the previous budget didn't take that into account, right?
correct.
That was after the budget was passed, we lost that revenue. This one now takes into account that we're not getting that revenue, and if it was
Correct.
to be filled, then that would also, it would kind of work the
Yeah.
other way, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The one comment I'd make, looking at the 5-year projection, clearly the revenue and expense lines get closer. For 26, 27, they're what, $2 million apart. But even going into 30, 31, they're $600,000 apart. So we're closing the gap,
Yes.
but we're still running a deficit every year for the next 5 years.
Right, because we can only, we're trying to responsibly project what revenues we think we will actually gain through our strategic planning. We aren't, for example, we have built in here some of the revenues from the RFPs we already put out on the street, but all the vacant parcels in the business park that we have yet to do aren't even in this picture because we considered it too speculative. So it's always adjusting. That's why we have to keep our eye on it. This isn't static. And, as we go along, we're going to keep watching these numbers.
Okay. Is there any further comment from the commission? Is there any public comment?
No, and for the record, Commissioner Mark McCamish arrived at 6:36, and we don't have a public comment on this item.
Okay. All right, so this is seeking approval. So do I have a motion in a second?
McCamish, so moved.
Kramer, second.
All right, motion second. Any further? All right, no further roll call, please.
We have Chair Johnston,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Abramson. I'm sorry, Commissioner Abramson,
Yeah.
Commissioner Tanhill,
Yes.
Commissioner Colvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Wyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner McCamish,
Yes.
and Commissioner Tabor.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes unanimously 8-0.
Okay. Thank you for everyone's attention to the budget. Appreciate that. Now we're gonna get a little bit more granular. The next subject is the rent and fee schedule. So who plans to present to us on that?
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Servando Briggs, and I'm the airport's finance manager. I'll be presenting on the fiscal year 2026-27 rent and fee schedule. So the rent and fees, this is something that we prepare each year and are reviewed by the auditor controller's office. And then ultimately goes to the board of supervisors for approval through a resolution, which then allows us to charge for these services. For fiscal year 26-27, we are proposing limited changes to the fees. As Aaron had mentioned, we have started the rent and fee methodology study and anticipate in fiscal year 27-28 for those changes to be implemented, where there will be a more comprehensive update. And so for fiscal year 26-27, changes are limited to the utility charges for the GA private accounting hangars, land rental rates for aviation, ramps and non-aviation, few of the daily permit fees, and the annual taxi, shuttle, courtesy vehicle permit fees, and then of course, various staff labor rates. So both clean and a red line copy of the rent and fee schedule were included in the agenda packets. So I'm just going to be highlighting the changes. So there's no changes in the hangar and tie down rates. Utility charges for the private and county hangars are increasing from $15 a month to $18 a month. And those rates are meant to recover the cost of electricity for those hangars. From fiscal year 25 and 24, there was about a 9% increase in consumption and then a 15% increase in cost. So that's going to be the driver of that increase. Fuel flowage fees for unleaded fuels, again, are being waived for fiscal year 26-27. So no change there. Monthly rental rates for ramp space is increasing from roughly 9 cents a square foot to about 10 cents a square foot. Land rates for the both aviation and non-aviation ground leases are increasing about 10%. And this is based on land appraisal done through the county's public work agency. Non-aviation land rate is increasing from $1.50 a square foot. That's annual rate to $1.65, with the aviation land rates increasing from roughly 98 cents to about $1.07 a square foot. For permit fees, most of them are staying the same, with only permit fees having a component of staff labor being changed. And so the permit fee for the daily permit fee for aviation commercial use is actually decreasing from $281 to $226, with a rate for each additional day dropping from $36 to $25. And then the annual permit fees for taxi shuttle permits are decreasing from $1,583 to $1,126. And the courtesy permits dropping from $211 to $170. Staff rates, as you know, they change every year, with cost of labor. For fiscal year 27, again, just wanted to limit the, changes, the amount of changes in the rates. And so with that, we, removed the, overhead costs from the labor rates. And so that's where, you'll see that adjustment. And then lastly, for, while there is no change on the, minimum insurance requirements, there's just a typo correction to note out. Under the lessees and licensees section for general liability, just correcting that requirement of 100,000 from 100,000 combined single limit for bodily injury and property damage to $1 million. So that concludes my presentation. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So what is the methodology? I'm just understanding, don't get me wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
rates going down is great, right? If you're one of the people who's paying those rates. But what was the trigger for lowering the rates for some of those things and raising the rates for other things?
So the main one's going to be the staff labor. In there, as you know, there's going to be indirect costs. As we evaluate the components of that rate, for fiscal year 27, just again, wanted to limit the changes and have it to where it's, so right now it's just going to be recovering staff salary and benefits with that. So any rate that has a component of staff labor is going to go down as well, for fiscal year 27. For fiscal year 28, again, evaluating that and what, costs to include in that recovery.
So like the taxi cab stand, I'm looking at the red line version here, where we go
Yeah.
from 15, and again, it matches what's on the slide, 1583 down to 1126. Is that
Correct.
because of the staff component of that?
Correct.
Okay. So things that you wouldn't necessarily know that was baked into the cost, because that was the case, that's what that led to a
The decrease.
reduction.
Correct.
Because obviously how the hangar rents and fees and all those things are all going up. This is
Correct.
going down, plus we have a deficit, so I just wanted to make sure I understand.
Correct.
Yeah. He's accurately described it. And the one thing I would point out is that the revenue component from this segment of revenue generation is relatively small and
That was my next question is I don't know how many taxi cab fees that we collect. It may not be all that much, but. Thank you.
That particular category of taxi cab shuttle stuff, does that include rental cars? And Ubers and things like that?
So I think we have a different structure for that. The rental cars are, they have a rent in the terminal and then there's a percentage rent structure, I believe, for those leases. I think for businesses that utilize a car service, there's a percentage rent. But generally, we're talking airport shuttles and taxi cabs that operate as a primary location out of Oxnard Airport.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Any further questions?
I just want to highlight one of the, and you mentioned it, I just want to again highlight the fact that this will all be substantially different, I believe, next year after we go through the whole methodology and all those things. So this one is, you mentioned it, I just again want to highlight it because next year when this comes back up, will probably be significantly different than this, potentially, depending on how that goes. We just don't know. This one's using the traditional methodology. We're, parallel right now, we're going on this method, the rents and fees for 27, 28, which will be the first time that it affects that. So this one is not under that umbrella yet. So next year it could be something significantly different. Again, just to kind of highlight that difference. And again, what you mentioned, which is on the slide, but kind of for my colleagues, and then just to put again, kind of a exclamation point on the fact that next year might be different.
That's correct. I mean, as you may recall that we've actually frozen rates. We haven't done a full cost recovery analysis in some time. And so I think certainly, with our budget, but also being responsible stewards We are looking to make sure that we're in line with industry standard. That doesn't mean necessarily we're going to be looking, once we identify the methodology, then we'll be looking at the rates. We've trended to be on the, the low end of the market. We're not trying to be at the top. What we're trying to do is find some medium where it's as fair as possible to the needs of the airport and the users.
And I bring this up because that was the public comment that we received, was again, kind of highlighting
Sure.
the economics of it, right? And making some points in there. But again, I think that would be captured probably in the following year
Correct.
when you do a bigger look. So, which again, I appreciate the public comment and taking a look into it all and all of those little, of those points. And I just wanted to kind of highlight that because of the public comment and that we're moving forward with this other methodology.
When we make comments like industry standards, right? What defines the industry for us?
Well, that's getting a little bit more into the methodology, but it's comparative and competitive airports.
Okay. As an airport user at several different airports, I always find that interesting. And there seems to be a trend, from the airport conferences that everyone's starting to blend to the same levels versus the community look at, what's going on in the community. And so it's hard to compare, for example, us to Van Nuys, right? Or,
Well, that's why, we're doing the methodology portion first. Is really what we're doing is we're working through the identification with our subcommittee of what would be fairly competitive and comparative airports.
And-
So, and that's always I've been through a few rent and fee adjustments on rates, and that's always one of the biggest contentions is, well, we're not Van Nuys, that shouldn't be in there, but we're also not Whiteman. So it's sort of a balance there. I think everyone here appreciates that one, you've seen one airport, it's one airport. So I think, the responsibility of the subcommittee and the airport is to sort of find a balance of the airports where we align, and it's not going to be perfect because we're unique, but that's where, we come in, where once we have identified the methodology and we do the rate survey, that's where we also have the control, is where do we end up?
and I'm glad you have, part of those committees like AOPA and
Mhm.
others, because the airport leadership community does a great job communicating amongst each other. But the users of the airports do a poor job of communicating with each other. So therefore, there's a disadvantage, and each airport tends to get into their own little thing. And here the airport leadership is resourced with airports across the country and trying to normalize. And, I operate about 5 different airports. And so I also see that what one airport can decide to do can have grave impacts to surrounding airports, even, at the distance like that a Van Nuys is. So for
Yeah.
example, if Van Nuys implements certain things, it
Yes.
has a huge impact on the wear and tear of our airport, different things of that nature that then lead to other conversations that are detrimental to the users. And so I just caution that, we need to be aware as an aviation community, right? Airports, users.
Yeah.
Of those balances, so that, there's not, I guess, harm caused to our local, really, secure airports.
This methodology thing, is this some kind of an application that's used, or how's this come about? Is the staff going to be doing this, or?
No, we did a solicitation, and we ended up sort of like a request for qualifications, and we ended up hiring, and I apologize, I might mix up the letters, AMCG or ACMG. I don't remember what the letters stand for, so I can definitely get back with you, but
Somebody was hired.
a consultant
Consultant.
that is
Probably.
been qualified, because they have
Who qualified?
experience. Airport staff,
I see.
based on qualifications submitted.
Well, there tends to be, in my experience, the same consulting firms are used for, they become a specialty.
Yeah,
So
because it
those
is sort of a niche. It's a niche or a niche
Right.
of a specialty service.
Hey,
Yeah, that's where I caution, because that's where things start to normalize, because we see the same methodologies and behaviors occurring at all the airports, because there's in many cases, a common contractor that's providing that.
Well, we
information.
have a great diversity of, I think, thought on the subcommittee. So I
Perfect.
think that a lot of this will come up through that process.
Well, that's why I said I'm glad you've got the broad group that's also representing, larger. So anyway, any further comments? Your mic is not on.
Hi, can you hear me now? Yes. As the individual commissioner, if I have further questions, who should I contact just on this rate and fee, just to help my understanding of it and learn more before we get into the final version? Do I just contact your office there, Aaron, or?
Yes, I mean, that's fine. Go ahead and send me an email. The rate and fee is something that is, I think you're seeing the proposed final version. So that's the only, if you're talking about the agenda item before you, or are you talking about the rate and fees later this year? Or-
Yes, the rate and
Oh.
fee later this year.
Okay, yes, you go ahead and contact me.
Okay. There's no further comments from the commission. Do we have any public comment?
No, for the record, there is no public comment.
Okay, so this would be an approval that's being sought. So is there any motion and second for the recommendations?
I make a motion to,
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. There's no further comments. Roll call, please.
Okay, we have Chair Johnston,
Abstain.
we have Vice Chair Kramer,
Yes.
we have Commissioner Abramson,
yes.
we have Commissioner Tanhill,
Yes.
Commissioner Colvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Wyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner McCamish,
Yes.
and Commissioner Tolbert.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes 6-0 with one abstention by Chair Johnston.
Okay. Moving on to item C. Approval and authorization.
I
Aviation
do
easement.
apologize that you're hearing a lot from me tonight.
We love
I'm
to hear.
filling several roles, so,
This is great.
okay. So, good evening. The item before you that we're seeking your recommendation to the Board of Supervisors for is approval and authorization for the Director of Airports or his designee to sign the proposed aviation easement with Premium Outlet Partners. Just for a little bit of background, included in the 1977 deed transfer of Camarillo Airport from the United States government to the county, were aviation easements that at a 50-to-1 glide angle that protected the flight of aircraft. These deeded aviation easements are more restrictive than the federal standard Part 77 surface protections. And in 2007, the county airport negotiated with the city of Camarillo and a developer to modify this aviation easement for the property that is now known as the Camarillo Premium Outlets. So there is a parcel where we set the precedent of we modified this original deeded aviation easement really in collaboration with the city and the developer. We received some things in kind for that, but we also were hoping to promote some of the economic benefits that the city of Camarillo would see from that action. Tonight, the proposed development site is located just past the western portion of the premium outlets. So you can see this is, I sort of call this the west portion, and then you have the east. So the proposed project site and parcel is this little square in between. And you can see that there's an outline of the proposed hotel footprint. The proposed hotel exceeds the previous aviation easement that we had granted by 10 feet. And and so what I would like to point out, though, is that it's even with that adjustment, we are well below the Part 77 protections that were required to keep in order to protect the flight of aircraft or the path of travel. And so we are looking, the original glide slope, or the 2007 adjustment, ended up in a 70-to-1 slope. This new hotel, there's just a section that kind of penetrates, and that's going to end up in a 68-to-1. An appraisal was conducted for this airspace adjustment, and ultimately a fee was negotiated for $100,000 for this aviation modification. Certainly some of the benefits is that the county airport will receive compensation for this. It is not in our current budget, so that will be, unscheduled revenue. And we also, our cooperation with the developer in the city of Camarillo supports the regional economy by increasing tax revenues and potential employment opportunities that would come with the development that's proposed. And therefore, staff is requesting your recommendation to the board that this be granted. I do want to add one last thing, which is even if we move this and the board is amenable, we would still be seeking FAA approval. So everything's contingent on the FAA's approval.
And how was the fee determined that they're paying us?
So there was an appraisal and we negotiated up.
And again, I think this is all wrapped into what you're talking about with the FAA, because this could affect the terps for the airfield, correct? I mean, I can see it on there, but obviously all the buildings and cranes, and while they build this potentially, right? So we'll assume that this all happens. That could be, we would see NOTAMs probably for, as the structure is going up, there could be cranes and all those things, right? And so
That Camarillo.
it's just an interesting spot on where that's at. And just for my own
Sure.
curiosity, the hotel that has been built now, which obviously wasn't part of this because they're on the other side of the street, but I don't know if that been reterped as well in terms of like looking at the new hotel, and it kind of opens up a bigger box of like anytime, you start getting 4-story buildings and things like that. Like this one, obviously we know it's going to hit the 50-to-1.
Well, the 50-to-1 is not the Part 77 50-to-1.
Right. It's the one from
The military,
1977.
because the military, the Part 77, the origin of the start of it is actually your runway end. The military deed, because the runway was a lot
Was longer. It was based
It
off of
was-
the original
correct.
runway end.
I believe that it was actually closer to the middle of Las Posas is where it started.
Okay. Copy.
But it will go through FAA
Yeah,
review
yeah.
and approval.
So you're already tracking all that, but yeah, it would.
We're anticipating, based on their approval of the prior 2007 modification, that it's likely, but we don't provide any guarantees even to the developer. We say it's up to, you know, we're amenable based on our analysis, and we did hire a consultant to help us with that.
So the revenue is contingent on the FAA approval
Correct.
as well, in addition to the supervisors and then.
Yes.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding. Is this encroachment, is the hotel itself or the equipment that's encroaching on the glide path?
The hotel.
The hotel itself.
Well,
So it's permanent.
correct. It will be a permanent, just like the Camarillo Premium Outlets. So right now you have the Camarillo Outlets can go up to the red line. And this hotel is largely, the majority of it falls under that 70-1 slope right here. It's only a portion of the hotel, and I believe it is really, you know, a lot of this falls into the Camarillo, the city's preferred design standards with bell towers and different things to hide equipment on top of the building.
I see, thank you.
It's 10 feet.
How much higher are they gonna go? Just that little part of the slope or?
10 feet, yes.
Oh, it's 10 feet. Oh.
All right, any other questions? Any public comment?
No, for the record, there is no public comment.
Do we have a motion for the recommendation in a second?
Kramer, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, motion and second. Any further discussion? No further. Roll call, please.
We have Chair Johnston,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Evenson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tanhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Colvin.
Yes.
Was that a yes? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Commissioner Wise,
Yes.
Commissioner McCamish,
Yes.
Commissioner Talbert.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes unanimously 8-0.
Thank you. Moving down the next item, we get to hear from our communications and engagement manager.
Good evening to you all. Jeanette Haregi, Communications and Engagement Manager and Public Information Officer for the Department of Airports. Tonight, I'm going to be presenting an abbreviated version of our first ever Communications and Engagement Summary, as well as our updated feature storybook. The Communications and Engagement Summary was designed to highlight where we started 4 years ago at the beginning of Keith's tenure versus where we are now and where we see ourselves headed in the future. Again, what I'm presenting tonight is an abbreviated version of the summary. In front of you, you all have the full version, and we'll be providing hard copies at our reception desk, and then it will also be available. A digital version of it will be available on our website this week, as well as a digital version of our updated storybook. I think it's missing. No, I got it. I think there's a slide missing, but what I wanted to on the third, I believe it starts on page 3. We included information about the development of Fly Friendly BC and the ongoing pilot education component. We've released several information pieces since the program's kickoff in September 2022, some of which are highlighted in the summary. The most recent pieces include the Runway 8 postcard and the Fly Friendly BC video for Oxnard Airport. Initial feedback from the video. So the video for Oxnard Airport focusing on Fly Friendly was, again, part of the pilot education program, and it was released publicly and to pilots, distributed to pilots in April. Initial feedback from the video included concerns about the order in which the left-hand turn and right-hand turn patterns are featured in the video, among a few other notes of feedback, and we definitely take those notes into account. And the goal, as you all know, is to ensure that there's balanced traffic and that we aren't shifting noise from one community to another. So both the left-hand turn and right-hand turn patterns are currently utilized. but we do emphasize in the video that the right-hand traffic is preferred when feasible. And that's really what the tower has been focusing on as well. But having said that, we do plan to have ongoing revisions of the video available for the foreseeable future. And we'll make some of those changes in the next version, and which the next version we expect to have debut in the fall. Other important items to note include the fact that the noise comments in Oxnard are down 80% from 2023 to 2025 and down 10% in Camarillo for the same time period. For Oxnard in particular, this does not mean at all that we've put our guard down or that we plan to lower the gears, so to speak, on the work that we're doing. On the contrary, we see it as a challenge to not only maintain the successes in Oxnard, but also to address continued areas of improvement for the program for both Oxnard and Camarillo, including any changes that will come from the ongoing approach and procedure analysis for Camarillo Airport. For this slide in particular that you see now, we really started zooming in on data. And, this helps us better analyze and understand what the community is experiencing, particularly with regard to areas of most concern, including nighttime operations at Camarillo Airport and runway 8 usage. We met with chief pilots operating private jets out of Camarillo in the fall of 2024. And since then, nighttime operations are down 18%, actually from January 2023, when we started collecting data, to December 2025. And nighttime, runway 8 arrivals are up 43% since we met with chief pilots and FBOs in 2024. So there's a lot of really key data here, and we continue to explore different systems that will offer more efficient and effective data, ability to analyze data and collect data to just make continued improvements. The communications and engagement role is really a multifunctional role. It's been about establishing and strengthening flight-friendly VC, building and nurturing relationships with the community, both with our neighbors and with pilots. And that includes establishing trust where it didn't exist before. And then also incorporating community outreach to increase visibility of both Camarillo and Oxnard airports through establishing branded materials like some of the swag that folks will see, and informational pieces that provide education about the airports, and any way that we can, again, increase that visibility. And then offering all of that material at booths, at local events, whether those are hosted by the county, Wings Over Camarillo, different job fairs. So we're really trying to increase that visibility in the community. And here you see some of the photos of those events. And a lot of the time we partner with different philanthropic organizations that are based at both Camarillo and Oxnard airports. Adding on to the community outreach also includes our airports tour program, which is still relatively new, though we've been consistently offering tours for about 3 years, with 3 coming up in the next month alone. We have schools coming out. We have different, at Oxnard Airport, we've had professional groups come out. These tours offer the community with an up-close look at the airports and an opportunity to learn about the unknown facts about what's offered to the community because of the airports, and also about daily operations. And then looking ahead, the bottom line is that, we recognized 4 years ago that we had a long journey ahead of us to establish not only a successful noise program, but also to create a means for all stakeholders to engage with the airports in a meaningful way. And tying that all together and making it all work has been a process, but one that we continue to work to improve. And so that's really, again, the summary is designed to just show where we were, where we are, and where we plan to be. And with that, I'll thank you for your time and open it up to any questions or comments. I do want to add that to the questions earlier about learning more about the Hive and Area 805, as more information and developments become available about Area 805 and the partnership with the Hive, there's going to be information pieces that we develop for the public to be aware of the connection between the Hive and Area 805. We're, again, as Aaron mentioned, we're just a a piece of that partnership of the Hive. But I think for sure, as more developments become available, we'll have presentations. And if you're interested, we can look into bringing folks from the Hive here to present. We certainly want to make that information available.
All right, thank you. Is there any questions? All right. Well, we will receive and file that staff update. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And there was no public comment on this item. And just for the record, I just want to go back for item 6B, the vote was 7-0 with one abstention from Chair Johnson and not 6-0. How I had put.
Thank you. All right. The next item is E for Advisory Commission Ad Hoc Committee.
Yeah, so obviously this isn't an airport specific staff issue, but I did want to invite the chair of the ad hoc committee to either from the dais or from the podium to give a update on their recommendations on possible changes to increase the effectiveness and efficiency of the Aviation Advisory Commission. Thank you.
Clark, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Aaron, as well. I'll just do it from here. It'll be more effective and efficient, I think. So just to I'll wrap up a little bit of history here, which is we were tasked with up to 4 members of the Aviation Advisory Commission to research, investigate, and ultimately make recommendations to the full AAC regarding effectiveness and efficiency improvements to the AAC. Any final recommendation would ultimately be presented to the County Board of Supervisors for consideration and final action. So that was our tasking, and that was back in January. And so what have we done? So there are 4 of us on here, Steve, myself, Rick, and Jerry. And we started off with a review of all of the bylaws and joint power agreement. And there is a lot of existing instruction and direction and guidance in there as well. So we reviewed all of those things. We started talking about, what are the things that can we affect? We ultimately, we considered all things. I mean, we started with a big broad brushstroke, which was obviously why we exist. The bylaws are all pretty clear. There were some things in there like, because we are tasked by the supervisors, we do fall under the Brown Act as an existing commission. So that was one of the things we talked about was, is there a way to have a more substantial engagement by potentially did we definitely fall under the Brown Act? And talking with Director Freitas and the county council, we are clearly in the Brown Act realm, which is great. That's how that's how this meeting has been going. So that's no change. There's other things that potentially would require supervisor review or change to the bylaws. So we looked at, again, all things. So things like it says right now in the bylaws that the commissioners are not compensated. So we discussed whether or not would that make it more would that make us more effective or efficient if we recommended changing that. Ultimately, it would make us maybe more effective in the sense of that one body does, so the authority does provide compensation for 1 member per the joint powers agreement. However, I think that it kind of everybody here right now is not compensated, and they're doing this job and are willing to do it for the community. And so I think it would come at a cost of efficiency, right? So we are not making that recommendation. Just for a bigger picture, there are, I think, 80 some odd boards and commissions within the county, and only 7 of them have a compensation piece to them. That was another thing. We drilled down that road and to figure that out. So that was a good data point. So after having these 5 ad hoc meetings, we came up with a list of some recommendations. I'll go through some of these, give some feedback for them. I think really almost all of them, with the exception of one, are within the existing mechanics of how we do business and probably wouldn't even require supervisor approval. But we'll talk about that a little bit. So again, with the idea of efficiency and effectiveness, the first one would be the packet organization, which is, again, everybody has the packet, and there's just doing hyperlinks in order to go to each of the action items and then back to the agenda. Again, this is a very easy fix. And I think that we can, and I made one, I'll show the commissioners with the existing packet this time around what I've done. And then talk to staff as well about how maybe we could do that on the next one to create the hyperlinks within the document, which would just make it easier as we flow through the packet and through the meetings, and also study for the meetings. The formalizing a liaison with the Camarillo and Oxnard authorities. So that one is we all have our own bylaws. The Oxnard Authority has its own bylaws, so does the Camarillo one. The Camarillo Authority does mention the relationship with the AAC, and that we are not subservient to them, but it does say that we should informally liaise with them. So perhaps one of the ways we could be more effective is to formalize our liaison or liaising with the Oxnard and the Camarillo authorities on the things that we recommend, or especially because we are essentially, this body exists as the link to the community. Every supervisor is represented in this body, and we go and talk to the community. And so on the authorities, not every supervisor is represented. So this becomes kind of the de facto way that we engage with the community. So if there was something that came out that was really pertinent, that would want to pass that along to the authority, having some sort of formalized relationship between the two would probably be helpful in order to get that information to the authority as well, as in addition to the supervisors. So I'll just kind of go through the ones that I have the puck on here, and then we'll go to a couple of these other ones. The commission professional development or commission retreat. This kind of hits into that thing about the Hive or Area 805. So because of the Brown Act and how we have to put the agenda out and all of these things and have the public comments and all of that, we're looking for a method to do some professional development for the board or for the commission, where we could talk about and get a high level briefing on how these things are without any sort of making a recommendation or an approval for things. Whether that's through something of a professional development day or even a board retreat or a commission retreat, which we're looking at how do we do that within the confines of the Brown Act in order to allow us to have essentially education sessions on some of these things as they come up, like the Hive or Area 805, but not with an eye of approving or recommending something, just more for professional development for the board or commission. The last one, and that ties a little bit in with this, which is the liaison, which is the timing of the meetings. One of the things we've considered is that if there was something to come from this meeting and we wanted to pass it along to the authority, which meets typically the day after this meeting, because of the Brown Act, we wouldn't be able to file a report based on that timing. So it would be one of the things we considered was potentially moving this so that it was earlier, so that we could provide an actionable report that could go to the authority. However, if we formalize this liaison role, that might also do the same thing. So again, that was just an idea of if we had something that we needed to file or provide input on, by having the meeting tomorrow, we wouldn't be able to get anything in the packet based on the Brown rule or the Brown Act rules. So either some sort of formal liaison or a change in timing would allow us to affect that. So those are the ones that I kind of had the puck on. Let me turn it over to a couple of my ad hoc members here. First off is the adjusting the public comment time limit. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Tannehill.
So there are two things that are on my agenda to talk about. One is to, again, we're trying to create more public engagement as part of what this is about. So we would like to propose that we increase the public speaking time from 3 minutes to 5 minutes. When people do want to speak to us, I think that extra time would be of value to them. And both in substance and in form, that let them know we want to hear what they have to say, what they say matters, give them a little extra time to say that. And it is my understanding that the Brown Act allows us to set reasonable time limits, and 3 to 5 minutes is considered reasonable in California. So that's one suggestion. And then the other suggestion is really going to be for the Board of Supervisors to encourage them as they appoint new members to appoint a diverse background of people on the panel, which frankly is already starting to happen. But there's a lot of great literature that the best boards are diverse boards. If you have a 10-person board and everybody has the same background and the same focus, it's not as effective as a board that has diverse backgrounds. So we would want to propose, of course, we need a lot of pilots, and we should have pilots. But if we have 10 pilots, and maybe instead bring somebody in with a school background or an environmental background or a construction background. Everybody who has a different view of how these airports' economic development, contracts, as we saw from the finances, these industrial parks around Camarillo matter a lot to us. So a diverse background would make us more effective as a board, and that was one of our suggestions to make us more effective.
And just to clarify for Clark and Steve who spoke on this, what you're doing right now is just presenting to the full commission. We're not making proposals or doing anything. All you're doing is bringing these topics up for the greater discussion of all of us to decide where we want to go, right?
Excellent point. Thanks for that
Yeah.
clarification. You're exactly right, of course.
Correct. Yeah, these are all proposals. So this is for your consideration and filing. As a matter of fact, after we go through all of these, and these are the ones that are listed in the packet, it would be to consider them at a future time on what we would actually recommend. So these are all ideas that we've come up with and kind of the logic on what sits behind all of those. And also opening it up to, that's just 4 of us. If there's, at the end of all of this, again, to give you an opportunity, if you, any of the other commissioners have ideas that we didn't consider and that you'd want to bring forward tonight to file as well, for future consideration, that would be an opportunity as well. So the next ones, again, these are the recommendations for filing, and then I'm going to turn it over to Rick, who's going to talk about the budget briefing portion.
Thank you, Clark. Before, when we were talking about the budget, we were all trying to understand it, the terminology and so on. And so, which generates some more questions as in this meeting here. But it's really for public and in the discussion.
Yeah, with the budget being one of our, I think biggest responsibilities on making sure that we are, understanding, where all these things go, and one of our big, recommendations is the budget. So that one kind of stands out as not as a annual thing that always happens. And so how do we make that process better as commissioners to understand those things and to kind of really better understand revenue streams, expenses, all of those things. And again, thank you for the explanation. I think that this go around has been very, very effective. And again, we got it with a lot of time to review it. And so that was very helpful as well. So thank you for that. And then the last one, and again, it kind of all ties together, but Jerry, I'm going to turn over to Mr. Edmondson to talk about the informational briefings.
Yeah, as far as the informational briefings, I know we do get briefed on some things, but every once in a while I have somebody ask me a question about some kind of maintenance issue, something about the tower, and I have no idea where to go to get information about that. I had, the one that really kind of got me was the light. All I know is I'm looking at the light from my hangar and something happened to it. And they never heard anything about it. But I know that I was out there about a week ago and they were working on it again. But I know it's not working. What's going on with that light? People ask me, what's going on with the light? I have no idea. Where do I go to, find that? And how come we don't know about that? Nobody ever said anything about something about the light flying off or something, or it didn't work. I don't know what happened to it. I was told that the wind came up and the light came off. It's a beacon I'm talking about, but there's other parts too, and it has to do with the maintenance or the tower or anything as far as informational service. Who do I go to? Do I call it Byron and ask him questions? I have no idea if that's something he would, think he needed to do.
And again, with the understanding again that this AAC is really about we are the connection to the community and going out and being there to answer those kinds of questions for those out in our different districts, all five districts represented here. So that was
I think it's also what I'm trying to do is get correct information. I saw you go when it flew off. When it blew off, I saw that. What? Well, I was told that, and was it real? I have no idea.
So
Thank you.
with that those are the ones that we have codified and gone through. And again, I think the ones that would have necessitate or would necessitate a bylaw change would be if we added anything about qualifications for the board of or commissioners of what it would be to for all of that. So that would require supervisorial approval or change the bylaws. And I believe everything else that we've recommended is all within the confines of the bylaws.
Okay.
But again, if there's anything else that anyone recommends, it's all at this point, this is all just for consideration. So if there's something else that we haven't considered that you'd want to bring up, I do want to open it up to all the rest of the commissioners.
Well, first off, thank you very much in your leadership of that ad hoc, because I know it took some time, and I think it's the first time I know in the several years that I've been serving that we're kind of taking a look and how can we be effective. And just for a note, I'm looking out into our audience right now of 0 people from the public. How many people are attending online?
There's 0 online right now.
So we're speaking to an audience amongst ourselves right now. So I appreciate that, we're a community thing, and the topics that come up are important to get community engagement. So I think that we need to be mindful of in terms of in this consideration from the ad hoc and some of the stuff. I think some of it's administrative and great ideas. I mean, I'll express my thoughts right now, and then we'll open it up. We'll open up to everybody, but like the packet organization, boy, that would be great. I think that's an administrative thing that doesn't require a lot, that is a staff function that we can probably not necessarily recommend. That's just something I think they heard it and we can do it. Some public time limits and things of that nature. I'm just going through the letter, the ones that are listed here. It appears you cover them all in your bullets. I would suggest that the 3 minutes and the amount of years that I've been serving here, that there's plenty of time. I think in some of the debrief, I forget your what was that?
Oh yeah, my Mark Twain, my favorite Mark Twain quote is, "If I would have had more time, I would have written you a shorter letter."
So I think that we haven't been too constrained with the time for the public from my thought. And I think that's one of the things that we were trying to address is like, maybe we can recommend that there are more public forums, right? Because those seem to serve really well, and they don't really require us on the advisory, but airport staff can have a public forum or create opportunities for maybe there to be more of a an expression similar to what you've done with the noise, and the fly friendly meetings, those are very open dialogues with stakeholders that aren't confined by the Brown Act. I think those are effective, right? And then we, by the advisory commission attending those, we can take that feedback and kind of having heard it raw. I love the idea of the liaison. I think that, we've talked about the gap there. So having some formal connection, I would support that. If this is the will of our commission to take a look at different things, I think that's great. I agree about the education things as well. I think that's another great suggestion you guys came up with, to have a little bit more understanding, recognizing that we don't run the airports. That's not our job. We have directors and we have staff to do that. Our job is to, advise and make sure that we're here to support all the kind of decisions and ask questions so that there's a thoughtful presentation and there's a thoughtful representation to the Board of Supervisors to make good decisions. So I like the idea of some version of that, whatever that might be, which I think could also include the budget and, things of that nature. And I think, the informal briefings, budget briefing, the commission professional development, to me, I see that as a bundle, right? That the airport director could do stuff with. So, as far as the diversity on the board, I think that that really is a Board of Supervisors decision. The Board of Supervisors in their representation in their district, whatever that might be, they so choose, it's at their discretion. And I think confining a Board of Supervisors with limitations as to the type of person, that Board of Supervisor, if the seat is filled a certain way, might not have a qualified candidate that meets that. So I think I would be cautious about restricting a Board of Supervisors' ability to choose who they think is appropriate for their community. So anyway, with that, I'll open it up to others. Those are my comments, but I really appreciate the thoughtfulness and the time that you guys all put in to kind of bring this to us. We're kind of at a 50-50 representation here. There's 4 of you that spent a lot of time on this, and there's 4 of us that are, kind of digesting what you just said. And I think that was more productive, even though it went through its evolution, than spending all that time here. And I think that was the point of it. So I'll open it up to the other 4 commissioners that weren't on the ad hoc for input.
I would like to make one comment. I want to thank Clark for being the chairman. I appreciate him doing that. It was a hard job at times.
Thanks, Rick. I appreciate it. No, it was good. I think, I think in the end, we all came out with a much better appreciation for the process. And again, all those things that we're all trying to do, which is really, we are trying to represent the community, and we're trying to also, be a good liaison with our supervisors. So it's kind of those that, and also with Director Freitas and the staff here. So those are kind of the 3 prongs here that we're trying to do our best to juggle those 3 things. But really, because of the commission, I think the unique part of this one is that we are out there representing all 5 districts, making sure that we are dealing with those issues, even from perspective of supervisors that aren't on the authority.
And that first conversation we had as a commission about that was a great aha for me. I mean, I really loved that we had that kind of representation of all the districts. So I think that was great. But anyway, to the other non-ad hoc commissioners, comments, thoughts. This is our time to see if there's something we'd like to, push forward, or, ask staff to further develop and, or, lay this to rest and say, good work, we're doing nothing.
Say that's a plan.
And I would feel very bad if that's how it ended up.
Thing to do. We spent a lot of time, getting to know one another, and,
I think that's part of
heated discussions, but I think most of this, we should look over this and the staff of the airport should, ask them to do something about this. I mean,
Well, right now that they have their order for how they interact with this body, and it's laid out, and the task of the ad hoc was to see if there's things that we might direct for, further development, or things that would go even as far up to the Board of Supervisors, or nothing. That we've done our due diligence, we've looked at this, and there's nothing that we as a commission determine, to move further. So again, I want to open it up to the four that were not on the ad hoc, including myself. I wasn't on the ad hoc. This is new to me. So what are your thoughts?
From my perspective, I think, appreciate the time that was devoted to this. Appreciate the information you're bringing forward. That's there. I do think the liaison makes a lot of sense, and supportive of that. The budget briefing, which you've mentioned, makes sense. The one thing that I wanted to comment on is the public time limits. I personally don't think it needs to be adjusted. You've got a lot of flexibility. And if we start going out to more, then that can be problematic, as well as getting everybody comments in. So that's the only comment I have, was I would leave it at the 3, and then there's always flexibility. But appreciate the work and effort that went into the subgroup.
I just want to say, I do appreciate having more diverse body here. We've got accountants, and I'll tell you, we got pilots, but I'm looking at these economic reports, and like I said, I'm good at math, but it's in physics, and I can't read these things. So that's something to consider.
So I think the points that were laid out are pretty much on point. Main one is the agenda packet, making that more friendly. That would definitely help out a lot. But great job.
So I'd kind of like to see if there's something, if it's the will of the commission, that there's interest in some of this work, to form some type of actionable motion that we can, or if there's no actionable motion, and we've just become aware of things, right? And we feel that some of this stuff is administrative, because I do think some of it's just administrative and probably in the purview of the director of airports to do without any recommendation, formally from us. Other thoughts from the ad hoc that, in terms of forming something, or do you feel that some of this, with the exception of timings of meetings, I feel like the packet organization, the liaison, the informal briefings, budget briefings, and the kind of retreat, I feel like some of that is already within the ability of the airport director to do, that, that doesn't need bylaws or any changes. Thoughts?
I would generally agree with that if we all agree the package could be organized to be more effective for us, and so on and so forth, that, we would just talk to the director and say, this is what this is, and we can have a conversation about that. So I'd agree with that. I think on the, and again, on the briefing, if we wanted a briefing, we could, I think, request a briefing, and kind of made notice that that's something we may want. I think for public comment time, I think it's actually within your purview. So if you wanted to, in a meeting, to extend it for whatever reason to 5 minutes, you would be able to do that. I think that's part of what's in your purview. So that, and then the other comment I'd make on this board member background, I totally agree. We can't and we shouldn't, and nor would supervisors take it kindly if we were to try to give them direction. But I do think it'd be helpful if we let them know, hey, we feel we would benefit with a diverse commission. And if you find somebody out there who's got expertise in these areas, we would look favorably, we think that'd be a positive addition. Because I think, again, it's better now, but I think when I first got on the commission, it was just not thought through. It was just, we pick pilots, and pilots would be picked who had, you know, unlike this great group we have now, didn't have interest in finances or things. So part of it, I think, is just letting the supervisors know and they'll make their own decision.
I wanted to, because I think I was one of the first to come on after you did. And it was an interesting makeup back then. So I mean, I think some of that is influenced by staff and the director leadership. And so I think it's clear evidence to me that that's a sign of how the staff has matured and the airports have matured in terms of they're working with the board of supervisors to communicate with the board of supervisors. Hey, we need this or we need that, so that the board of supervisors are educated in who they seek in their local districts. So I commend the staff and board for the staff and the director for the maturity in some of that. So I agree. I look at some of these things. I think this is something that as chair I can further discuss with Keith, and if it's the will of the commission, I will with maybe some further conversation with Clark, or maybe Clark and myself, we can meet with Keith, and I think we can probably address many of these things administratively and put this to rest. But again, I want to make sure it's the will of the commission.
I guess
Do we have to make a motion and vote on it, or can we just go ahead and let you guys?
I think if there's no motion that gets presented, and I'm looking down for your all of kind of your support. I think that's what I would like to do is as chair go and represent some of these ideas with the director and Clark and see if we can execute some of these things. And unless there's something that's very passionate that the commission feels that we need to codify, I think we can lay this to rest and work with Keith on things further.
I'm supportive of that as well. The one comment I did want to make is on the packets of materials. There's a lot of material there, but I think it's reasonably well organized. And I think the staff do a great job of putting that together. It's just that there is a lot of information, but I don't know if there's a recommendation of how to do it better, that would be one thing. But to me,
Good. Just really quick, we have someone speaking. Go ahead and continue.
yeah, I just want to acknowledge the work that goes into putting the packets together. And I think it is well done. It's a lot of material to go through. If there's a specific recommendation of how that it should be organized, that would be helpful. Otherwise, just to say organize it better doesn't help.
No, I actually have a recommendation, and that is, so the information itself is the same. So the packet itself is great, and Lizette does a great job getting it all together. It's all exactly in order and all those things. The only difference is on the PDF itself, because it's 200 and some odd pages, is having hot links. So anywhere where it says pages 14 through 17, clicking a hot link where it takes you to page 14 to 17, and then you click back to it and takes you to the agenda. So it's a very small and I think relatively easy administrative change on the PDF itself on how it turns it a little more interactive, almost like you have the web links that are on there. You click on it, and it would just take you to those pages and then take you back to the agenda. And that way you can more easily go between the agenda items.
I think that's any specific suggestion like that, it would be helpful because it gives guidance along that as well.
So that's my suggestion.
All right. So if there's no further comment for me or nothing formal to codify, if I think we can lay this to rest with any formal motions as far as recommendations or direction, and I will, in my role as chair, work with Clark and Keith to see of these things that what can we just do administratively, because I think there's a lot of just administrative things here, or even I think it's in the preview for me to be able to work with the director to call informational things or professional development things. I think we could do those kind of things as well. So that said, I think I'm going to move forward with that. And I again want to thank the committee because I do think this gives us some constructive dialogue to have with the airport director. And I think there are some things. And I would just encourage, this is recorded. We're speaking to an audience of 0 right now, but to the public, please come. We've got to find ways to engage people, and I don't think that's necessarily what I think by us changing things in our roles here, but Jeanette and staff somehow either maybe I'll just make comments from every meeting that are triggering or get people all worked up to attend these things because the hot topics tend to pull people out of the woodwork. So maybe we just got to make every topic really hot and impactful for people to want to come out and participate. So we just got to continue to keep engaging on the opportunities like the fly friendly and stuff like that. And I would encourage everybody on the commission to encourage your friends and engagement there as well. So, all right. With that, I think we have a director's report. There's nothing to thank you. We'll receive and file all the work of the ad hoc and director's report.
Thank you for your patience for me stepping into Keith's shoes tonight. Keith did want me to convey some items on the director's report. So starting first with pictures of swarm arrow testing. April 1st, this is just an example of swarm arrow sort of moving to the next phase where they're testing equipment, which is mobile. So they only set up on the ramp when they're actively testing. And at the conclusion, they relocate it back into their hangar at Oxnard Airport. But we are seeing more and more interest in advanced technologies. We have brought to you before briefings on Hart Aerospace and some of their electric testing. And now we have some testing going on by a company that's been at Oxnard Airport for a while, Swarm Aero. We wanted to just touch very briefly. At our March meeting, we had a member of the public who had introduced, how about if we have curfews to deal with some of the noise issues. I know that we've had many discussions with members of this body over the years and also at our Part 150 noise compatibility studies and our Camarillo Airport layout plan studies about the limitations out there. But I did want to, for this purpose, just remind folks that, mandatory curfews are preempted by the Aircraft Noise and Capacity Act. Unless they were adopted, you had some curfews adopted before that act was enacted in 1990. And so at Camarillo Airport, we actually do have a curfew for departures between 12 a.m. and 5 a.m., except for emergency or authorized government operations. We also, just because that is our only curfew in place, it doesn't stop us from still trying to expand that with voluntary curfews. So at Camarillo Airport, through our Fly Friendly program, we really encourage a voluntary curfew of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And over at Oxnard Airport, we have a voluntary noise curfew from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. for all operations. So just sharing information. Additionally, as all of you may be aware, the Department of Airports on occasion gets requests to communicate or have the contact information for commissioners and some of the public members of the authority. And instead of providing direct contact information, staff worked with the county IT team to develop a website contact form. And the form allows the public to send an email to their choice of commissioners or authority members by submitting a message through the website. And we also, once we activated this, we sent an e-blast to our mailing list and to pilots about this new option and availability. So many of you may know that we have an approach and procedures analysis study that is ongoing for Camarillo Airport. We held one additional TAC meeting, which is a technical advisory committee meeting, ahead of our planned June 9th public meeting to address some comments that the technical advisory committee had proposed some adjustments. So I just want to remind folks that we, at our last public meeting, for the approach and procedure meeting, we had a public comment period that ended April 24th. We're continuing, we held an additional TAC meeting to tie up a few loose ends. We probably have one last touch point with our TAC ahead of that June 9th meeting. And then we will be bringing recommendations for any proposed adjustments to the Camarillo approach and departure ends. And we encourage the public to attend. So we are advertising this public meeting, and we're excited to move forward and see what we are able to offer. Okay, so we have been talking about the Camarillo runway infrastructure project for years, and we are finally here. So actually bids were due today. What I would say is that they're being evaluated, but we did receive, it appears, 3 competitive bids. So you'll be hearing more about that in the future. And I would say that they definitely were competitive and within our proposed anticipated budget. So at Camarillo Airport, we had an airplane incident where the aircraft was on the ground, lost brakes, and hit a hangar or hit a couple of hangars, resulting that's something that is being handled between the parties, but it also did result in our leasing division to kick off an insurance audit. So that is something that is in progress. We always are working to, it's a constant job to keep the insurance renewals going and to make sure everything's flowing. And so we're doing our internal audit to see where we're at. We brought to you in March, we had the Camarillo RFP development proposers present. And so we just wanted to give an update. We've had several communications that we've e-blasted on this topic, but we are looking for the panel that is made up of airport staff to complete the ranking process here in May. The airport staff will then be holding an open house that will be open to the public with the 2 proposers potentially for that were ranked the highest for each site. And it's an opportunity potentially for the public who felt like maybe they weren't able, they have either more questions or maybe they weren't able to get all their comments out to have that opportunity. And it will be in a, not in a Brown Act situation. So hopefully we can have a little bit more dialogue for that. And then we will be reporting back on all of that in July before your commission. And this is actually the teaser I had earlier. We received on Friday the great news that the certificate of authorization was approved by the FAA for Area 805. So we are, our next steps are that this summer we are holding operational meetings with the University of Alaska Fairbanks to vet everything in the process to be able to stand this up. And we anticipate the potential of actually opening up Area 805 in fall of 2026. And this is not on the director's report, but I'll add it in. Airport beacon at Camarillo Airport. We continue to maintain the existing airport beacon as our main right now, as we are working on standing up a new one. So if you saw rumors that there was a light and then it flew off, really what's happening is we're doing some testing and making adjustments. So I know that we've had several updates over time about the beacon saga. And so once we have something substantial to report on activation, we will be messaging that out. If it happens before the meeting, we will be sending a notice through to tenants through eBlast.
Is the airport paying the owner of the,
Yes.
yeah,
I have a question regarding Oxnard. I know Swarm was doing testing and that other, it seems to be more permanent. There's been something at the, what would be kind of the terminal ramp. It's now moved
Yes.
over to kind of that transient wash rack area.
Yes.
Is that gonna be like it, be positioned there like it has been before in the other location? Is it gonna just stay there now?
Yes. I mean, they have a 6-month activity permit, is my understanding.
Because I think there's challenges with, I just was looking at that today and you know, that's something to further discuss, but there may be challenges there with transient aircraft getting in and the wash rack for certain size planes that are very big that have been told that they can only wash their planes in the wash rack.
Yes, if you wish to wet wash, we have a dry wash policy at both airports,
Yeah,
unless you're at the wash rack.
right. Okay.
Eric, can you go back to your opening slide there with Swarm Arrow? I got a question here. Back. Then one more. Yeah, what are we looking at here? Yeah, is that an engine or?
So yes, it's an engine that's mounted on a stand that is connected to a trailer so that they can essentially roll it in and out of the hangar for
And,
testing.
yes, what is it, a turbo? Yeah,
It's an electric, it's their engineering and design testing of their electric engine.
it's an electric.
I believe so.
I think so.
Okay, and just one more question. You talked about the curfew. Is this curfew, was it grandfathered before the airport noise and control?
You mean the Camarillo departure to curfew? Yes.
That's okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just as a side note, because it's been asked before, but I'll say, Oxnard will be getting that big, beautiful DC-3 back by the end of May. So looking forward to sharing more about that with everyone. It is. All right. Is there
Exciting.
any further questions for? All right. And then, thank you, Aaron. Thank you for everything this evening as well. I think you did a great job. So Keith better watch out. You're coming up. So, all right, several reports, filed, correspondence, and I think that brings us to the end of the agenda. Any public comment?
There's no public comment. Just for the record, though, we do have YouTube viewers on YouTube, but we weren't able to see them through Zoom. But through our YouTube stream room, we do have viewers.
Awesome. That's great. That's wonderful to hear. Thank you. That makes me feel a lot better.
And there
So,
was also no public comment on 6E.
okay. Thank you. So with that, most favorite thing for people to do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
All right. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your night. We're adjourned.